Today we'll learn about the states of matter. Now the three states of matter are solid, liquid and gas. We'll start off with the solids. Now let's get on first with a solid. Here are three examples of a solid. We have a pen, then we have a book, and we have a needle. And we all know that they are solids. Let's ask a few questions to know the properties of these solids. Look at the pen. Does it have a definite shape? Yes, it does. The book also has a definite shape. The needle too has a definite shape. So all these three, they have a definite shape. So solids have a definite shape. So that is property 1. Solids have a definite shape. They don't change their shape. Now we go to the next question. Do they have distinct boundaries? Look at the book. Here is a boundary of the book. See? It has a distinct boundary. Now see, look at the pen. This is the boundary of the pen. The boundary does not change. And the needle. Here we have a distinct boundary. So do solids have a distinct boundary? And yes, they do. We already learned they have a definite shape and they have a distinct boundary. So the second property is they have a distinct boundary. What about their volume? Do solids have a fixed volume? And the answer is definitely yes. They have a fixed volume. They don't increase or decrease in size. So solids have a fixed volume. Now try compressing these solids. Try applying pressure on this book. Does the size decrease? Does its volume decrease of this needle or this book? You try pushing it on both the sides. Can they be compressed? And the answer definitely would be no, they cannot be compressed. They have negligible compressibility. Or they cannot be compressed. So here we have 4 properties of solids. They have a definite shape. The shape does not change. They have distinct boundaries and they have a fixed volume and they cannot be compressed. This property of solid having a definite shape is also called rigidity. So we say solids are rigid because they have this they maintain their shape. So we see that solids are rigid. Why are solids said to be rigid? Because they have a tendency to maintain their shape when even subjected to a pressure or force. Solids may break under force, but it is difficult to change their shape, and hence solids are said to be rigid. So we summarize again what we learn on this slide is solids. We have 4 properties of solids. They have a definite shape. They have a distinct boundary. They have fixed volume. They cannot be compressed. And they are rigid. Now let's consider a rubber band. Here is a nice red rubber band. Now when you stretch the rubber band, when you pull it apart, here it's shown in the picture, it changes its shape. So is it a solid? We said solids don't change shape, but a rubber band, when stretched, here it is stretched and it changes. Now it's become much larger. It has changed its shape. Yet a rubber band is a solid because a rubber band changes its shape under force. Only when you stretch it, when you apply force, it changes its shape. The minute the force is removed, then it returns back to the original shape. So we consider the rubber band as a solid. The next example, look here in the next picture, we have here cubes of sugar. Now these cubes of sugar, we put them in this jar, shaped in this. They take the shape of the jar. Now the same cube of sugar, this pile of sugar, we have put in another jar, and they have taken the shape of this jar. So when the sugar is kept in different jars, it takes the shape of the jar. Are they a solid? And the answer is yes, the sugar is a solid. Because if you see, the shape of the cube does not change. The cube remains the same shape. The cube of sugar, in all this case, the cube remains the same shape. So we can consider sugar as a solid. The shape does not change. In the next picture, we have a sponge. And when we compress the sponge, when we apply pressure on both the sides, the sponge gets compressed and it decreases in size. So the sponge here has changed shape. Can we say it is not a solid? Why has the sponge changed its shape? Within the sponge, we have here pores of air. We've seen it's porous, and there is pores of air. And when you compress and when you apply pressure on this sponge, this air begins to escape out. And because this air escapes out, now the sponge reduces in volume. It changes its shape. Hence, a sponge is also a solid.